President Buhari campaigned for cancellation of debts of needy countries by the developed countries and international financial institutions. National Assembly receives request for approval of $5.5 billion from the executive to finance revised 2020 budget. 5 years of this administration. Correspondent takes a look at the journey towards food sufficiency. Plus, latest efforts at curbing the coronavirus pandemic in the country. A very good evening to you. This is NTA Network News, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Ian John. Reading with me in Lagos, we have Hingino John Adams, Jenny Barses in Port Harcourt, while Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachukwu will join us much later from Kaduna. President Muhammadu Buhari Thursday said global solidarity was the hope for humanity and called on developed countries and international financial institutions to cancel the debts of needy countries, especially in Africa, to enable them reverse the devastations of COVID-19 to the human race. President Buhari renewed the appeal for debt cancellation for African countries in a virtual meeting tagged High-Level Event on Financing for Development in the Era of COVID-19 and Beyond, convened by Canada, Jamaica and the Secretary General of the United Nations. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
It is a time to walk the talk. And here again, the special high-level meeting is another opportunity for countries around the world to advance concrete solutions to the development emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is truly a global challenge with many dimensions.
Alleviating crashing debt cannot be limited to the least.
The meeting is discussing financing for development in the era of COVID-19 and beyond. Heads of state and government expressed their commitment to decisively facilitate global solutions to address the global economic crisis and its effects on the most vulnerable. It's a global concern, and after the panel discussion, President Muhammadu Buhari also expresses his concern on the effect of COVID-19 on the economy of the country.
For Nigeria, the shocks are multiple, including the sharp decline in international oil prices, which has negatively impacted revenues and growth, worsened external and domestic positions, and further increased banking sector vulnerabilities, resulting in enormous human and economic toll on the country. We have been proactive in implementing a number of strong measures, including fiscal, monetary and structural policies, and a multi-pronged response to the health crisis.
President Buhari says Nigeria had revised its 2020 budget downwards and shifted emphasis to response activities towards bridging the critical gaps in the health infrastructures to strengthen national response to COVID-19 and other diseases. Equally, the president urged major nations to provide free additional resources through an international consensus to assist poor countries fight the coronavirus pandemic. More than 50 heads of state and government, as well as heads of international organizations, participated in the high-level event. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has risen from its May meeting, reducing the monetary policy ratio by 100 basis points to 12.5%, while retaining all other parameters. Chimobi Water-Naji captures key highlights of the meeting.
Now, amid the continued impact of COVID-19 on the global and Nigerian economy, many financial experts had projected a review of the monetary policy rates in an attempt to reinvigorate the Nigerian economy as the outlook on broader economy remains largely uncertain. Now, the decision by members of the Monetary Policy Committee to reduce the key rates to 12.5% while retaining the asymmetric corridor at plus 200 and minus 500 basis points around the MPR is to help ensure liquidity and growth in the economy. While reading the communique, the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele said the MPC also resolved through a unanimous vote to retain the liquidity ratio at 30%, while cash reserve ratio was left unchanged at 27.5%.
The committee also urged government to remain focused on the implementation of the revised 2020 to 2022 medium-term expenditure framework as the basis for sustainable fiscal policy.
The governor, while blaming the fall in Purchasing Managers Index on lockdown measures, noted that decision of the committee to retain the controlling rates was informed by the need to observe the impact of steps already taken under a massive intervention plan to save the economy from COVID-19 pressures. Now, it is the expectation of the committee that the country will experience a positive GDP growth by the end of the fourth quarter of 2020 with the stimulus packages already put in place. In Abuja, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji, NT News.
The Nigerian government is making good its promise to ensure transparency in the expenditure of the $311 billion Abuja loot recently returned to Nigeria, as the Federal Ministry of Justice pre-qualifies some civil society organizations to monitor spending of the money. Olabode Arewa was at the bid ceremony.
The $311 million was returned consequent upon the agreement between Nigeria, the United States of America, and the bailiwick of Jersey that the repatriated funds will be spent on the Abuja-Kano Road, the Second Niger Bridge, and the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The civil society organizations are to monitor the disbursement and spending of the funds. 16 civil society organizations were pre-qualified out of the 30 who collected bid documents, while one bid was returned.
The government wants to be as transparent as nature can allow. The three governments agreed that there should be involvement of the civil society organization, because we believe that the civil society are also grassroots and they will be able to give independent assessments of what the money is actually used for.
The financial bids submitted by the civil society organizations will be opened on a future date to be communicated to them. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Few hours from now, it will be May 29, 2020, marking the end of the first year of the second four-year term of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration and the fifth year of the government in office. Available statistics released by the media office of the president indicate that the administration has made productive impact in almost all the facets of the Nigerian life. The three umbrella areas on which government based its interventionist agenda are security, reviving the economy with particular emphasis on job creation, especially for youths, and fighting corruption. In the area of security, government has taken the battle to the insurgents and criminals, and they are being extinguished by the day, and very close to complete extermination. Similarly, the economy, which was long dependent on a monoproduct, petroleum, has been retooled, refocused with diversification as a task that must be accomplished. Agriculture has been given a boost. Manufacturing has got a shot in the arm, and solid minerals are contributing large chunk to the gross domestic product. The country is very close to food security, with most of the grains no longer imported. On the war against corruption, there have been aggressive fiscal reforms and plugging of leakages in such a way that seems to say, commit the crime, do the term. Sectoral analysis of the giant strides in the past 5 years will come in as subsequent bulletins. In other news, the National Assembly has commenced the consideration of the revised Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2020 of 10.509 trillion naira, 85 billion lower than the already passed budget. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
This is the second time in the last 6 months that the National Assembly will be cutting short its recess to attend to urgent national issue. The review of the already passed 2020 budget to ensure realistic implementation in the face of COVID-19 becomes necessary. The past 2020 budget was predicated on oil production of 2.18 million barrels per day, but now reduced to 1.93. Oil benchmark of $57 to $25, while the exchange rate was also adjusted upwards from 305 to 360 to $1. Capital expenditure from 2.4 trillion to 2.2 trillion. Recurrent expenditure was increased from 4.8 trillion to 4.9, while statutory transfers was reduced from 560.4 billion to 398.5 billion.
Nigeria's foreign reserves have declined to $35.9 billion in March 2020 from the high of $44.7 billion in April 2020.
So it's only realistic for government to present a budget that will reflect this decrease. So I support, this amendment. I am lending my support to this amendment with an emphasis that we have to go further even to reduce more from this to match the challenges ahead.
The new budget made provision of 213 billion as COVID-19 intervention.
But I want to say the effort here is modest and it's one that needs our total support.
I think the time has come for those who drive in exotic cars, SUV cars, to pay toll.
It is also imperative to adjust expected revenues, considering the widespread disruptions in other domestic economic activities, as well as international trade and transportation.
The amendment bill also passed second reading in the House of Representatives. Some members expressed reservations on the recurrent expenditure and the $25 benchmark.
And look at the budget in relationship with the realities we face on ground. That what is best to do is to show up the benchmark to say $27 per barrel.
The assumptions underlying the 2020 Appropriation Act are no longer sustainable.
While the revised medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper were referred to the National Assembly Committees on Finance, and to finance the revised budget, fund critical federal government projects, and to support state governments, President Muhammadu Buhari has written National Assembly requesting approval of external borrowing of $5.5 billion United States dollars from the National Assembly. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Away from the National Assembly now, a steering committee headed by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was today inaugurated to further drive the country's process towards the attainment of a national target of making Nigeria open defecation-free by 2025. State House correspondent Jude Onifade reports.
The term of reference for the steering committee, as enumerated by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, is to mobilize support and resources from all stakeholders at the highest political level, within the private sector and the international partners, for local actors for the implementation of the national sanitation agenda.
So we're embarking on this initiative at a most auspicious time. As our nation confronts the COVID-19 pandemic, we recognize that expanding access to water, to sanitation and hygiene facilities is our most effective weapon against the scourge of infectious diseases. Ensuring the provision of adequate wash facilities in our communities is the cornerstone of our efforts to strengthen the resilience of our public health structures beyond the present challenge of COVID-19. This is the basis of our commitment to ending open defecation and, more broadly, raising the standards in the wash sector.
As noted, progress has been made in the implementation of the Clean Up Nigeria campaign launched in November 2019 as a national initiative towards making Nigeria open defecation free by 2025, with 20 local government areas now certified open defecation free.
No doubt that with the quality of the membership of the steering committee, there will be effective articulation and coordination of the campaign. Let me state rather regrettably that Nigeria still tops the global league of countries in which open defecation is prevalent, with an estimated 47 million of our people indulging in the practice.
There's also the need for legislation, and I'm very happy to hear that that there's been a first reading in the Senate for this, and I hope going forward that the House of Reps will also take efforts to ensure that we get this legislation, because it's also there in the executive order number 9.
Open defecation, as agreed by all, has negative effect on the health, educational outcome, and the social-economic life of the society. Community participation and cooperation of all relevant stakeholders is said to be very crucial. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NJ News.
Sadly, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed deep sympathy to families who lost loved ones in an attack by bandits in Sabo Birni local government, Sokoto State, praying for the quick recovery of those that sustained injuries. In a statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, President noted that a major military operation codenamed Operation Accord was launched by the military, targeting the bandits tormenting Northwest and North Central states. President Buhari reassures Nigerians that the government is determined to protect them against what he called remorseless, psychopathic mass killers who have no regard for the sanctity of life. Let's take some messages now. Network News will be back shortly.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
A united Nigeria, strong in the fight against COVID-19, to bring a voice of hope, to join hands to bring an end to this pandemic.
Kandidiko hafiasi akwadara n'otu aka ka ndị nwere ikike ịhụ maka ahụike si dịkwa nkwadebe maka ọgụ a.
Ní ayé àtijọ́, afarapamọ́ lábẹ́ àpáta Olúmọ, a sì borí ogun náà. Àkókò tó láti farapamọ́ sínú ilé.
Mu ci gaba da kaɗaita juna, kuma mu kiyaye wuraren da akwai cunkoson mutane.
Mukumulo pipa pigzinko lokachile.
Womere ya mevokja wokura bowe kokekokyo, woje seriji sanitizer wokura bowe.
Fulbe ballen ko emeden kauten judne kaben dun nyaw coronavirus. Daroden e wuro ballen gomnati ballen ko emeden dun nyaw dun waray dun dillay.
One Nigeria, different languages, and we shall surely prevail.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities in partnership with Nigerian Television Authority. You can't beat the rich.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19.
A corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Welcome, dear. Have you washed your hands?
Inside my house again. This thing not the key black man.
I don't know if it's misinformation or poor hygiene that will kill you first. Coronavirus is real, and good hygiene practice will save your life. Anyway, no hand washing, no eating.
I will not take care of it. How's one of the parents?
Coronavirus is real and it's on the rise. But you can help yourself and help others to be safe. Remember, we can stop the spread. It's in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Good to have you back. Kogi State records COVID-19 index case as the number of infections continues to surge in the world. Uche Ugochukwu reports.
The tally released by Johns Hopkins University as at 6 p.m. 28th May 2020 shows that there are 5,846,538 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the world, while 359,529 people have died and 2,537,260 recovered. In Nigeria, Kogi State has reported 2 cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours, as the Center for Disease Control confirmed 389 new cases and 5 deaths in the country. The cases were reported in 22 states, which are Lagos 256, Katsina 23, Edo 22, Rivers 14. And below the ladder we have 2 each in Nasarawa, Kogi and Oyo states, while Imo, Borno, Ogun and Anambra has 1 each. To date, 8,733 cases have been confirmed in the country, 2,501 patients discharged, and 254 deaths have been recorded in 35 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Zimbabwe's coronavirus cases have more than doubled as it increased from 56 to 132 under a day. Majority of the cases are from returnees from neighboring South Africa and Botswana. And about 400 people have escaped from a coronavirus quarantine center in Malawi after complaining about its poor state. The novel coronavirus has killed more than 100,000 people in the United States, even as the slowdown in deaths encouraged businesses to reopen and Americans to emerge from more than 2 months of lockdown. Meanwhile, Malaysian health authorities reported 10 new coronavirus cases, raising the cumulative total to 7,629. Number of fatalities remained 115. Indonesia has also reported 687 new coronavirus cases, bringing the total number of infections in the Southeast Asian country to 24,538 and total fatalities to 1,496 with 6,240 recoveries. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the refusal of health institutions to attend to patients with other ailments apart from COVID-19 is causing avoidable fatalities in the nation's health sector. Chairman, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, who disclosed this at a daily briefing, appealed to chief medical directors of hospitals to reverse what he called the disturbing trend. Itari Ikpe tells us more.
The nation's health experts have always indicated that the risk of contracting coronavirus is higher for those with illnesses such as hypertension, diabetes, and non-communicable diseases.
Unfortunately,
the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, however, notes that such patients are now being neglected.
Truth be told, we are having more deaths from non-attendance to other diseases than COVID-19. This situation is made worse by the fact that federal tertiary institutions have been mentioned among those rejecting patients for fear of COVID-19. This is not acceptable, and we are saddened by this development. The Minister of Health has reached out to all medical directors, directing them to continue providing regular medical services so that we do not end up with avoidable death.
The task force believes that until a cure or vaccine is found for coronavirus, prevention is still the best approach.
The Madagascar herbs have been received at the Federal Ministry of Health and were found to consist of two varieties, one variety labeled to be for prevention and the other labeled as for treatment.
There are two things that we need to do. The first is what do the ingredients contain? And then the second is the clinical trials. What do they do?
Following growing demand for mass testing for COVID-19, the PTF insisted that rapid diagnostic test kits are still largely unreliable.
Recent data out of the US showed that a certain kit that was invested in was right 50% of the time. There's a growing black market on rapid diagnostic test kits in Nigeria. We have to be careful in what we buy and how we use it and how we interpret the results that it provides.
Meanwhile, more sensitization strategies are being deployed by the task force to penetrate the grassroots.
Our community engagement partners have a combined total of over 800,000 volunteers across the country that are ready to canvass Nigeria with life-saving messages.
In the event of a spike in COVID-19 cases, the PTF indicated that hotels and school dormitories may be used to isolate and treat patients with mild symptoms to free up hospital beds for more severe cases. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And still on COVID-19, the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, says aggressive and sustained media campaign has helped in bringing Nigerians to the understanding and reality of the COVID-19 pandemic. The minister said this was achieved through the robust creative messages being aired on radio, television, national dailies, as well as the various social media platforms.
The jingles are also running on 40 radio stations across the country, with states like Kano, Kaduna, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja having more than one radio station airing the jingles. In addition, we also have support from 40 community and campus radio stations across the country awaiting our jingles.
Lai Mohammed added that provision has been made for the airing of NCDC and its partners' messages targeting the physically challenged.
Similarly, radio jingles on various thematic areas in the fight against COVID-19, produced by the NCDC and its partners in Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Kanuri, Fulani, Nupe, Gbagi, Tiv, Ibibio, Igala are being aired on radio stations in the states where the languages are spoken.
To this end, Lai Mohammed explained that the revised ease of lockdown protocol has equally been published in national dailies spread across the 6 geopolitical zones. The imposition of interstate travel ban by the federal and state governments in the wake of COVID-19 says the House of Representatives requires strict enforcement to further curb the spread of the virus. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that this follows a matter of urgent importance by House Minority Leader Ndidi Elumelu.
House members in their contributions noted that there are reports and trending videos of people traveling to different parts of the country in violation of the presidential order.
At a time like this, where movement is being restricted worldwide, there are videos of massive movements of trailers, travelers, mostly smuggled in trucks, carrying food items or livestock from one part of the country to another. This is a complete drawback to the COVID-19 containment efforts.
The House members mandated relevant committees to interface with security agencies in order to investigate alleged complicity of their personnel to plug such lapses. The House also solicited the setting up of a special task force to monitor and implement the interstate lockdown. A motion from Representative Awaji Nombek and 11 other House members urging intervention and investigation by relevant authorities on recent mysterious deaths in Bonny Island of Rivers State was adopted at plenary. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Nigeria Governors Forum is to explore collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to leverage on the approved $1 billion COVID-19 crisis facility by African Development Bank to meet the needs of Nigerians during the lockdown occasioned by coronavirus pandemic. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that the proposed interface is part of outcome from the 9th teleconference on NGF on COVID-19.
Which formed major part of the NGF communique in its 9th virtual meeting was to initiate austerity measures in the areas of health, agriculture and security. The forum endorsed the development of a 3-month plan on the reopening of the economy by the National Executive Council subcommittee and sustained interface with Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Nigerian Governors Forum NEC Haddock Committee is also to interface with the Economic Sustainability Committee headed by the Vice President Professor Yemi Osibanjo to incorporate its contributions as a national response to COVID-19 crisis. The NGF pledges to consolidate and strengthen engagement with coalition against COVID-19 in the distribution of palliatives and other interventions to vulnerable Nigerians. The 36 state governors also set up 3-member committee led by Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State to engage with the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice on the recently passed Executive Order 10/2020 on governance at the subnational level. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
As funds gear towards flattening the curve of COVID-19 increases, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission holds a webinar to engage stakeholders aimed at ensuring value for money for every penny spent from the COVID-19 funds. Kolo Mohammed reports.
The COVID-19 pandemic is said to have slowed down business and financial imperatives globally. It is said to have brought public and private earnings this close to zero, even though large sums of money from different sources have been put out in support of efforts to flatten the curve of COVID-19. ICPC and Office of the Attorney General of the Federation are working to ensure that there is value for money for every single penny spent out of the COVID-19 funds. The webinar session availed stakeholders the opportunity to clear grey areas as peddled in the court of public opinion. Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs says school feeding is now food ration as households numbering over 3 million have been marked and handed vouchers containing food items due to each household numbering 7.
Now that barcode voucher system allows us to provide that household with a voucher that they can come, that will validate them to come to a particular designated center to collect their food rations.
Other speakers handed in ways that will enhance transparency in the polity, giving assurance of selfless and bias-free process.
And there is need for us to ensure that there is value for money, not just in terms of the quantity, but as well as the quality of the things to be procured using the COVID-19 fund, as well as to ensure that things that are meant to ameliorate the problems of the people in terms of palliatives actually get to them.
The webinar is expected to produce a template on how to monitor and manage public funds so as not to serve private needs. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
In other news, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has released COVID-19 public health protocols for Nigerian-based crew operating international flights, as flight crew must now wear personal protective equipment and observe infection prevention and control measures for the duration of the flight. A letter by the Director General of NCAA, Captain Musa Nuhu, says the flight crew will not be quarantined but undergo mandatory testing for COVID-19 every 14 days at cost to the air operator upon return to Nigeria, as flight crew members who test positive for COVID-19 will be taken to treatment center for further management, which is now the new protocol approved by the Federal Ministry of Health. The protocol states that Nigeria-based airlines or aircrew wishing to conduct flight operations outside the country shall be required to comply with the new guidelines. And on security, ongoing joint military operations have eliminated 570 terrorists and bandits, while 236 people abducted have been rescued. This was announced by the Coordinator Defense Media Operations, Major General John Ineche, at a news conference in Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa brings us details.
The gallant troops also carried out a raid on a criminal hideout of Zakibiam and Kasinala, where a notorious armed robber, Ojondu by name, was killed. Troops also recovered large cache of arms and ammunition within the period under review. The killing of this Ojondu has brought a great relief to the good people of Benue State and some parts of Taraba State.
This periodic news conference provides update on joint armed forces and other security agencies' operations across the country. Breakdown of the harvest indicates that Operation Lafia Dole, that spanned through the northeast, killed 188 terrorists. Operation Hadarindaji eliminated 392 bandits in Katsina and Zamfara states, while 236 people abducted were rescued.
This is in addition to several others killed in air bombardments. The air interdiction led to the destruction of several logistics facilities and compounds, housing some of the key leaders of the bandits.
Similarly, the Nigerian Navy conducted several anti-crude oil theft operations in the Niger Delta region. The Defense Headquarters appealed for regular intelligence report to support the armed forces operations nationwide. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And still on security, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered the immediate redeployment of commissioners of police and announced new posting across various formations in the country. The affected states are Osun, Andi, Adi, Edo, Johnson, Babatunde, Kokomo, Bauchi, Lawal, Jimeta, Tanko, Ebonyi, Philip, Sule, Maku, Gombe, Ahmed, Mekudi, Shehu, Ondo, Balaji, Amidu, Salami, Oyo, Joe, Nwachuku, and Wamu. Others are Okun, Etem, Eastern Port, Bello, Mekawashi, Airport Command, Olukolu, Tairu, Shina, Anti-Fraud Unit, FCID Annex Lagos. While appealing for community cooperation, the Force Public Relations Officer, DCP Frank Uba, in a statement urges the newly posted and redeployed commissioners are to be guided by professionalism and rule of law in the exercise of their mandate. And still on the police, the federal government of Nigeria has approved the reorganization of the Nigeria Police Force. This reorganization includes full autonomy of the Force Intelligence Bureau and the decentralization of the Force Criminal Intelligence and Investigations Department, FCIID. In a statement, the Force Public Relations Officer, DCP Frank Umba, said by this reorganization, the FIB, which was previously a section under the FCIID, is now a full-fledged department of the force to be headed by Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG. With this new arrangement, the Nigeria Police Force now has 8 departments and each is headed by a DIG. In the meantime, the federal government also approved the further decentralization of the FCIID with the establishment of 2 additional offices in Enugu and Gombe states. While Enugu is expected to take care of investigations of major crimes emanating from the southeast and south-south geopolitical zones, the office in Gombe will take care of the northeast geopolitical zone. Time to go to Lagos, and Higino will bring us more news from there. Higino.
Ian, it's good to see you. The Nigerian Armed Forces
have continued to re-strategize as a matter of necessity in dealing with the dynamics of security and modern warfare and improve public relations to earn the trust and confidence of Nigerians. It is in that spirit that the Nigerian Navy, in celebrating its 64th anniversary, joined the vanguard of gladiators in the fight against COVID-19 and assisted its host community in Lagos State. Dotun Owemi has the report.
Getting to the community, more so with the rains, posed a challenge, but it is nothing that men of the Nigerian Navy are not used to. With the navigation of the difficult terrain defied, members of the host community of Imore under Oriade Local Council Development Area came out to welcome the team. The first point of call was the palace of the traditional ruler, Oba Taofik Adegboyega Awojo, where a brief ritual was performed, followed by prayers. The items comprising condiments, rice, beans, noodles, face masks and hand sanitizers were handed over to the Oba for distribution to the most vulnerable in the community.
The terrain itself presents a challenge for essential commodities to come here. And so we deem it proper and fit out of all our neighbors to choose this community to be able to ameliorate the plight of the less privileged members of the society.
And if you look at the Nigerian Navy in Imore here, is the largest out of the old barracks in Nigeria. So that is why I'm so good. They can't me. They realize that these people, they have to go and give them something.
Meanwhile, ships docked at the NNS Beecroft jetty were all dressed overall to reflect the commemoration of the 64th anniversary. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
That's it from Lagos. It's now back to Iyanre in Abuja for the continuation of the news.
Next thing you know, we'll now take a break. Do stay.
Mama, Uncle Kim just called me. His wife just gave birth. Hey! If not be God, though, now who go do am? Now who go do am? I thank God. Boy or girl?
I was too excited to ask. Let me get my phone and call him. Mama, it's a... Mama, what's wrong?
So, I no fit see my grandpikin now as dem do obodo oyibo.
Mama, I have a surprise that will cheer you up.
Introducing Sunday Data Plan. Enjoy Sunday browsing. 200 Naira gets you a whopping 1.25 gigabytes. Glow Unlimited.
Prep your face properly before the makeup.
So who's making my husband smile?
I was just thinking about all my investments and how much impact they're making.
Investments?
Do you know I played a part in financing the Oyo-Ogbomosho Expressway? Even Onisha Enugu Expressway and that Kano Maiduguri Expressway. My investments contributed to the completion of those constructions.
Thank you.
Before you thank me, thank FGN Sukuk.
What's that?
A low-risk investment which yields us regular and attractive returns.
Let your money do good and earn you good returns. Participate in the Federal Government of Nigeria Sukuk offered by the Debt Management Office, which is now on and open to everyone. For more information, visit the financial advisors, Lotus Financial Services Limited and FBN Quest Merchant Bank. FGN Sukuk, investment for you and your country.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
All right, everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV, live it, love it.
Many thanks for staying. Let's go to the Asian city now. Some women in Edo State have declared their support for Governor Godwin Obasaki's re-election bid and have demonstrated same by contributing to the purchase of his nomination form. They address separate press conferences in Benin City. Good luck, Inaini reports.
It is the convergence of groups across the states at different locations. The aim is to garner support for the governor in his re-election bid. Association of Market Women, led by Blackie Ogiame, says its support is hinged on what it terms the profitable governance style of the governor in the last 3.5 years of his administration. In the same vein, the Coalition of Women Professionals in Edo State says its members are satisfied with the policies of the governor.
We want to appreciate our governor for the job well done. We are ready to support him, and for another 4 years, we will contribute our 10 naira to buy him ticket so that he will complete his tenure as the governor of Edo State.
As a woman that is in business, you are no longer coerced, harassed and embarrassed. We are very, very grateful for this.
In a meeting of some APC women leaders and female political office holders across the 18 local government areas, the women say under the present administration, women were effectively engaged, while for the representatives of female teachers of the State Universal Basic Education Board from across the 18 local government areas, it has been a new dawn for the education sector.
Even recently, we just found out that he has appointed more than 460 women in his administration.
As you stand out to represent our people, we the female teachers of Edo State are solidly behind you. Go forward, Mr. Governor.
In Benin, good luck in Inaini, NT News.
Port Harcourt is next, and Jenny will feed us from there.
Lyren, Rivers State government will do well to tighten surveillance at its various interstate boundaries in its containment of COVID-19. The call is necessitated by persisting allegation of extortion by security personnel at the boundaries. Robinson Darataide reports.
Rivers State is bounded by Imo State in the north, Abia and Akwa Ibom states in the east, and Bayelsa State in the west. With the report of COVID-19 in Rivers State, the government announced the closure of its boundaries on the 26th of March, with the combined team of security agencies and COVID-19 task force manning the boundaries. The enforcement appears effective at the Omerelu-Oweri boundary, with support from the traditional institution. But same cannot be said of the Imbiama-Bayelsa boundary, where allegations of extortion by security operatives is rife.
We have the COVID-19 task force of the community here in the town to get back anybody.
So we are going to deploy everything available to us to make sure that our borders are closed, to see that we stop the spread of this virus and flatten the curve.
They make it quite compulsory that in order for us to go through, even with our pass and our complete documents, we still need to pay some certain amounts of money.
However, the medical personnel in the COVID-19 team were reported as keeping fit with their duties of subjecting passengers to the mandatory test. It was also observed that the boundaries have become centers of petty trading. From Imbiama in Rivers State, Robinson Derateide, NTA News.
Network News continues with Abdullahi in Kaduna. Hello, Abdullahi.
Thank you very much, Jenny, and welcome to Kaduna. Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje says Kano State is witnessing a decline in the spread of COVID-19. Speaking during a periodic media briefing on the COVID-19 response, the governor attributed the decline to the deployment of additional strategies in containing community transmission of the virus. Abdullahi Mustafa has the details.
COVID-19 response in Kano, the state battled with multiple daily reported cases and death from the viral disease. This informed the deployment of additional measures by the state government. Increased awareness, establishment of additional isolation facilities, testing and sample collection centers were among such measures. So far, Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje stated the outcome is cheering.
We are witnessing a decline in the spread of this disease in Kano State. And also, we are witnessing people accepting that the disease is a reality.
Dr. Ganduje, however, stressed that use of face mask must be enforced to achieve better results. He also insisted that the Almajiri system must be remodeled not only with regards containing community transmission, but to comply with the free and compulsory education policy of the state government. There were presentations from members of the technical response team and the state task force on COVID-19. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
And with that report, Network News continues with Larry in Abuja.
Suleiman. President Muhammadu Buhari joins Ogun State Executive Council, members of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and the citizens of the state in celebrating with Governor Dakpo Abiodun on his 60th birthday. The president congratulates the governor, his family, supporters, and political associates on the landmark age, which has been heralded by many lofty achievements in the private sector and public service, attracting recognition at home and abroad, especially in contributing to his state and national development. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari also warmly congratulates Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State on his 70th birthday, joining the State Executive Council, members of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and citizens in celebrating the milestone. President Buhari affirms that Governor Masari, who served the country for many years as a legislator and rising to be Speaker of the House of Representatives, 2003 to 2007, has a remarkable and credible record of simplicity and humility in public service, with a proclivity for bringing harmony and stability into governance. Also, President Muhammadu Buhari warmly felicitates with Nigeria's Consul General in Johannesburg, South Africa, Godwin Adakole Adama, on his 60th birthday, congratulating him for many years of courageous and meritorious service to the nation. In a statement, the president joins family, friends, and professional colleagues of the diplomat in celebrating the landmark age, largely colored by more than 3 decades of working with the public service, with postings in Nigeria's foreign missions, which include United Kingdom, Republic of Greece, and the Republic of Benin. We'll take another break now. Don't go away.
Did you know that using bar soap and water protects against viruses? Many viruses are surrounded by an envelope with receptors that enable them to enter a human cell and cause infection. Bar soap destroys the outer layer of the virus and effectively removes it and reduces your chances of contracting the virus. Protect your family from the spread of viruses. Wash your hands using bar soap and water. Brought to you by Medifax and Dettol.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Welcome back. Time to talk sports, and Tamara Ebiwe is our guide.
Following recommendations from the Extraordinary National Council on Sports, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, inaugurated the Edo 2020 National Sports Festival COVID-19 Committee with the mandate to work with relevant stakeholders to ascertain the health infrastructure of the state and come up with a new date for the Games. The minister, while inaugurating the committee in Abuja via virtual communication, charged the team to work quickly within the stipulated 30 days given the committee.
It is